Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Great to see you virtually, and thank you for taking the time to join this webinar. My name is Masha. I'm part of the Google Play Partnerships team, and I work with developers in Southeast Asia and Australia and New Zealand. Today's webinar is part of our regular series of webinars that we try to do every quarter, and it focuses primarily on important policy updates. This is where we want to give you reminders, tools, tips and tricks, and most importantly, time-sensitive and critical updates from the Google Play policy to enable you to continue to create safe and awesome apps on Google Play. So before we jump into the agenda and the content, I wanted to just do a quick call out on a few housekeeping rules, please. We'll ask you kindly to not video record this session. We always want to keep this webinars interactive. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask our speakers, please do so in the question box on your screen, or you can also go directly to slido.com and you see the event code on your screen, which you can use to ask any questions. We're going to try to address as many questions as possible. Apologies in advance if your question will not be answered. Time is limited. We're also going to try and prioritize the questions that are most relevant to all developers. So if your question is very specific, it might not be the best forum. But yeah, please do not hesitate to ask anything that's top of mind, and we'll do our best to answer all the relevant questions. And last but not least, as always, we'll ask for your feedback. So please watch out for that form at the end. And as always, let us know what worked and what could be improved in the future. I'll give you a quick overview of today's agenda, quite a packed one. We're going to start with October policy updates, key reminders and important dates. We're going to take a closer look at the families policy as a deep dive and give you an overview of any changes there. Of course, a few helpful resources to help you navigate all the updates and get set up for success. And then last but not least, we'll take your questions towards the end of the session. Before I hand it over to my colleague Moon, who's going to walk you through the policy updates for today's webinars, I would like to take a moment and recap some of the important recent updates that we have announced from the Google Play site. Today, we have a number of different programs that are meant to support our vibrant and ever-evolving ecosystem. What these programs ensure happens is that around 99% of our developers are now eligible to a service fee of 15% and less. What are they? Earlier this year, in July, we've announced a service fee reduction to 15% on the first $1 million in annual earnings. That change has already been live for a few months, and it goes across both one-off purchases, IAPs, and subscriptions. So if you haven't yet had a chance to enroll, please do so. You can do that in your console. Quite a straightforward process. In addition to that, a couple of weeks ago, we've announced another update, which caters to support specific needs of developers that offer subscriptions on Google Play. Starting January next year in 2022, we are decreasing the service fee on all subscriptions to 15%. We hope this is a welcome news for those of you who offer subscriptions on Play. No enrollment steps will be required. This new service fee will kick in automatically for all eligible partners. And then last but definitely not least, we are making further changes to certain verticals in terms of service fee for specific verticals and developers. What does that mean? Ebooks and on-demand music streaming service developers who qualify for the Google Play Media Experience program will now be eligible for a service fee as low as 10%. So if this sounds like you and you want to learn more, please click on the QR code that you can see on your screen to learn more details, and also welcome your questions about any of these updates in the Q&A later in the session. And I think with that, without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Moon. Moon, over to you.
All right, thanks, Masha, for the introduction and recapping the new Play business model. Hello, everyone. Great to meet you again, and hope all of you have been staying safe and healthy. My name is Moon, responsible for Play regional operations for Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and EMEA. It's truly an honor to present on behalf of my team again today. And I hope this session helps you better understand the policies that we recently introduced. With that, let's begin. Let's start with our new policies about hostile downloaders within the mobile unwanted software. social apps and features for kids and families, and Android emojis. We're adding a hostile downloader section to our mobile unwanted software policy to prohibit code that by itself isn't unwanted software, but the code can download other mobile unwanted software. So if you'd like additional guidelines for major browsing and file sharing apps that facilitate downloads, please take a look at our policy center. This change will help us better build a safer and more trustworthy ecosystem for everyone. Also, we want kids to be able to have a safe online experience. So we are adding new requirements in our families policy for kids apps that are social apps or have social features. We are requiring these apps to have, first, in-app reminders for safely engaging with others online. Second, adult approval before allowing child users to share personal information with others. And a method for adults to be able to manage these social features on an ongoing basis. As a reminder, we do not allow families apps whose primary purpose is to allow children to chat with strangers. Next, we are launching a new Android emoji policy to give users an inclusive and consistent user experience across the Google platform. When the Unicode version for an app is outdated, users often don't see new emojis as is intended. Instead, they may see small square boxes or an incorrect set of emojis. As you can expect, that can be a very frustrating or confusing experience. So we're adding a new policy that requires apps running on Android 12 and above to use with the latest version of emojis released by Unicode within 4 months of when it's available. Developers will have different options on how to stay compliant with this policy. You can check the Policy Center for more about those options and additional resources. For example, we have a set of emoji examples shown here that you can use to test if your app is compliant with the latest Unicode version of emojis. If the emojis from the table don't show up correctly in your app, then you may be running an older version of the listed Unicode. The policy will provide guidance on how you can update to the latest version. We also have developer guidance and resources like Emoji Compass Support Library to help you keep your app up to date. With the Emoji Compass Support Library, your users won't need to wait for Android OS updates to get the latest emoji. Let's now go over some updates on monetizations and ads for kids and families and subscriptions. First, we're clarifying that families, ads, and monetization policy requirements apply to all monetization and advertising in apps that target children. You will see that we added language in the policy to clarify that it covers all monetization options, including cross promotions, sponsorship messages, and in-app purchases. You can take a look at the Policy Center for examples of common violations to avoid. Next, we're clarifying our subscriptions policy to more explicitly prohibit apps that subject users to deceptive or manipulative purchase experiences, including in-app purchases or subscriptions. This helps protect users from misleading or deceptive subscription plans, and it helps reduce high refund rates for developers. Here are some common violations. The first violation is showing multiple screens in the purchase flow that lead users into inadvertently clicking the final continue button to subscribe. The second violation is leading users to think that the plan is free by making the cost that users will be charged after the trial hard to read. We've also added other policy updates, examples and clarifications on violence, sexual content policies, as well as on the enforcement processes. So please visit the Developer Policy Center for full details. Let's now look at some key enforcement dates. On the top, you can find deadlines from the policy updates we talked about today. Enforcement of the subscription and monetization and ads policies will start from early December, whereas we've extended the grace period for changes that may take developers more time to adjust to, such as the kids and family social apps and features um, and Android emoji updates. On the bottom, you can find deadlines from our previous policy updates, and please make note of the enforcement start date of such big changes as package visibility, data safety section, and Ad ID. Let's also take a quick look at some of the key updates that we made in the past as a reminder. First of all, let's refresh our memories on the requirements for Android 11, the new Android app bundle, and billing library version 3. From August 2021, new apps should target API level 30 or Android 11 or above and adjust for behavior changes. Second, publish with the Android app bundle format and use Play Asset Delivery or Play Feature Delivery to deliver assets or features that exceed download size of 150 megabytes. Please note that expansion files, also known as OBBs, will no longer be supported for new apps. And lastly, new apps must use Billing Library version 3 or newer, as this includes new ways users can pay, subscription promotion capabilities, purchase attribution for games, and improvements to purchase reliability and security. Starting this November, app updates will be required to target API level 30 or above, adjust for behavior changes in Android 11, and use Billing Library version 3 or newer. Existing apps that are not receiving updates are unaffected and can continue to be downloaded from the Play Store. And just a reminder for apps targeting Android 11 and above, please use the query all packages permissions to allow your app to view the full list of installed apps on the user's device. If your app meets the policy requirements for acceptable use of query all packages permission, you will be required to declare this and any other high-risk permissions using the declaration form in Play Console. And to add some important notes, the inventory of installed apps queried from a device are regarded as personal and sensitive user data subject to the Personal and Sensitive Information Policy. And you will need to obtain scope appropriate visibility to other installed apps on the device. We know making these updates can take time, so we will be sure to give you 60 days advance notice before the deadline. Also, as an update to our user data policy, we are adding a new safety section, data safety section in Google Play. This is to help users understand the data an app collects or shares, and if the data is secured. We have conducted research survey and developers across the globe and have shared that they believe users should have transparency and control over their data. Google Play believes the same, and we all want customers to be able to decide if an app is right for them and confidently download and enjoy the app. The new safety section will allow you to inform users what your privacy and security practices are. For example, it will summarize what data is collected or shared and highlight privacy and security details, such as if the app uses data encryption or not. With this new data safety section, we are also introducing a few updates to our user data policy to bolster privacy and security. First, all apps must have a privacy policy that's posted in the Google Play console and within the app itself. The privacy policy must include information such as your data retention and deletion policy. Also, apps that do not access any personal and sensitive user data must still submit a privacy policy. Second, the developers must provide clear and accurate information related to personal or sensitive user data their app collects or shares. Also, if your app's target audience is children, the SDKs you use must be approved for use in child-directed services. Similar to other app details like screenshots and descriptions, developers are responsible for making sure this information is accurate and up to date. We've also added the YouTube link and the QR code in this slide for more information. So please feel free to check them out if you want to find more about the update. As a reminder, the data safety form in the Play console is now available, and we want to provide the developers with plenty of time and resources to get prepared. So from October last month, you can go to app content in the Play console to fill out your information and submit it for review feedback. We recommend that you start this now because some developers have told us that it may take some time to complete all these processes. As we shared earlier this year, all developers must submit this form and include a privacy policy even if your app doesn't collect or share personal and sensitive user data. So next February, users will start see this feature in your app's Google Play Store listing. And if your information isn't approved yet, then it will show as no information available. We know that some developers will need more to assess their apps and coordinate with different teams. So you have until April 2022 before your app must have this section approved. Otherwise, your new app submission or app updates may be rejected. We have plenty of resources to help. So check out our Help Center at this link to learn more about the policy requirements and definitions with examples. The article will link to a developer guide on how to check your app's declared permissions, APIs, and libraries. It will also link to a new Play Academy course to walk you through the processes and share examples. Finally, before moving on to the Q&A session, let's have a policy deep dive session on the families policy. Please note that this session is not for covering the newly updated policy that we introduced in October, but more for reinforcing the highlight of the families policy, as the families policies have always been one of the most commonly found violations ever since its first launch. All right, so Google Play offers a rich platform for developers to showcase their high quality, age-appropriate content for the whole family, and has been committed to providing a positive, safe environment for children and families. After taking inputs from users and developers, we specifically added the families policy requirements to provide additional protection for children and families. We also launched the Design for Families and Teachers Approved programs after receiving feedback that many games and apps appealing to children are deploying dangerous practices, such as surfacing mature ads and collecting personal identifiable information of children inappropriately. Lastly, parents also look for apps and games that are both enriching and entertaining for their kids. So COPPA, GDPR, and many other regulations around the globe have specific and restrictive requirements for apps and services targeting kids. As a platform, we hope to help developers to be compliant with these regulations. In terms of ads and monetization, we want to ensure that apps for children have appropriate content, show suitable ads, and handle personally identifiable information correctly through compliance with our ad format requirements, ad SDKs, and InApp Purchases guidelines. So let's now go deep dive into the family's policy requirements. Please remember that if one of the target audiences for your app is children, you must comply with these requirements. Failure to do so may result in app removal or suspension. So let's take a closer look at each of these requirements in the next slides. So first requirement is on app content. Your app's entire content should be appropriate for your target audience. In this example, you will see that drinking game app promotes play for children in their store listing, stating that it's suitable for age 5 and under. But the app content is only appropriate for adults and is obviously glamorizing the use of alcohol. This is prohibited. Next requirement is app functionality. Your app must not merely provide a web view or of a website or have a primary purpose of driving affiliate traffic to a website, regardless of ownership of the website. On the right, you can find a violating example showing that an app providing the web view content without adding any value. Please note that this is also a violation. Third requirement is on Play Console answers. Make sure to provide accurate responses to the content rating questionnaire. You'll find this in the Play Console's policy section under app content and then go into content ratings. Also, please make sure to accurately disclose your app's interactive um, elements on the content rating questionnaire, such as your app's users can interact or exchange information. Your app shares user-provided information with third parties, and your app shares the user's physical location with other users. If you have questions about the rating assigned to your app, contact the rating authority directly using the link provided in the certificate email that you get. Also, please remember that misrepresentation of your app's content may result in app removal. Next requirement is on ads and in-app purchases. If your app displays ads to children or to users of unknown age, you must ensure ads displayed to those users present content that is appropriate for children. And disable personalized ads, interest-based advertising or remarketing. Also follow the family's ad format requirements. And lastly, comply with all applicable legal regulations and industry standards relating to advertising to children. Also, Google Play will re-authenticate all users prior to any in-app purchases in apps within the Design for Families program to help ensure that children are not approving purchases. And here are some examples of common violations on ads. This ad on the left is suitable for teens, but inappropriate for the intended audience of the app, which is rated everyone or 7 plus. Also, the ad on the right side is suitable for mature users, but inappropriate for the intended audience of the app, which are teens or 12 plus. So always remember that the ads shown within your app must be appropriate for the intended audience of your app, even if the content by itself is otherwise compliant with our policies. And let's take a look at another common violation of the family's ads and monetization policy. On the left, you can see a non-compliant example of a rewarded ad that interferes with normal gameplay. As a user is playing the game, an ad pops up and interferes with the user experience, and it's not closable even after 5 seconds. You can also find another non-compliant example on the right, which is using emotionally manipulative tactics like showing crying pig to encourage in-app purchases from kids. So I hope this non-compliant examples better explain our policy ads and monetization policy. And here are some other examples of disruptive ads. These are ads that are displayed to users in unexpected ways, resulting in inadvertent clicks, or impairing or interfering with the usability of device functions. So your app cannot force a user to click an ad or submit personal information for advertising purposes before they can fully use an app. Here on the left, you will see an example of an ad that take up the majority of the device screen without providing the user a clear way to dismiss it. This is obviously prohibited. On the right, you will see multiple ad placements or banner ads that show multiple offers in one placement, which is also not allowed. Now, let's take a look at the data practices requirement. So you must disclose the collection of any personal and sensitive information from children in your app, including through APIs and SDKs called or used in your app. Sensitive information from children includes, but is not limited to, authentication information, microphone and camera sensor data, device data, Android ID, and ad usage data. We also have specific requirements for APIs and SDKs. Um, you must ensure that your app properly implements any APIs and SDKs. So apps that solely target children must not contain any APIs or SDKs that are not approved for use in primarily child-directed services. So this includes Google Sign-in or any other Google API services that access data associated with the Google account, or Google Play game services, and any other API services using OAuth technology for authentication and authorization. Also, apps that target both children and older audiences must not implement APIs or SDKs that are not approved for use in child-directed services unless they are used behind a neutral age screen or implemented in a way that does not result in the collection of data from children. So apps that target both children and older audiences must not require users to sign in or access app content through an API or SDK that is not approved for use in child-directed services. Also, it is your responsibility to ensure your app satisfies all requirements concerning advertisements, in-app purchases, and commercial content. Also, contact your ad SDK provider to learn more about their content policies and advertising practices. Let's now go over the new requirement on social apps and features. But first, let's define social app, social feature, and adult action. First, social app is an app where the main focus is to enable users to share free form content or communicate with large groups of people. And social feature is any additional app functionality that enables users to share free form content or communicate with large groups of people. And lastly, adult action means a mechanism to verify that the user is not a child and does not encourage children to falsify their age to gain access to areas of your app that are designed for adults. For example, an adult PIN, password, birthday, email verification, photo ID, credit card, or social security numbers. And let's jump to the next slide to discuss these requirements. So, if your apps allow users to share or exchange information, you must accurately disclose these features in the content rating questions. Any app that includes children in their target audience and has social features must provide an in-app reminder to be safe online and to be aware of the real-world risk online interactions before allowing child users to exchange free-form media or information. You must also provide a method for adults to manage social features for child users, including but not limited to enabling or disabling the social feature or selecting different levels of functionality. Finally, you must require adult action before enabling features that allow children to exchange personal information. Also, social apps where the main focus of the app is to chat with people they do not know must not target children. So examples include chat roulette style apps, dating apps, kids focused open chat rooms, etc. And last but not least, legal compliance. Be sure to comply with COPA and GDPR standards and consult your legal counsel to determine any other applicable obligations. Again, non-compliance may result in app removal or suspension. And I know this is a lot, but these are very, very important elements. So I highly recommend you to read the Policy Center about this family's policy for more details. And you can find more information in the link or the QR code in this slide. All right, and here are some helpful resources to help you build compliant apps. First of all, please take advantage of our free training at g.co/playacademy/policy for more information on policy foundations and deep dives. And to check the past and recent policy updates, please watch the Google Play Policy Bytes videos in the Android Developers YouTube channel. The Policy Bytes videos talk about in-depth explanation of policy with illustrative examples of compliant and non-compliant screenshots or examples, and also enforcement timelines. Last but not least, here are key resources that you might want to take a look as well. And that's it for today. This was all the content we wished to share with you to bring you up to speed to these latest updates. And I hope you found it useful. So these resources can also be found in the resources tab of the website. So please check them out.